And to the crisis in Somalia, which is facing the worst famine in decades. The United Nations warned today 800,000 children could die from starvation. International agencies want to send in more food, but al-Qaeda-linked militants
humanitarian crisis in Africa. Now the United Nations says the situation in Somalia is about to get much worse, with vast swathes of the country just...
2010 to 2012 claimed as many as 250,000 lives. That's more than double the previous estimates. Half of those who died were children under 5. So could some of those deaths have been prevented?
By the summer of 2011, it was clear that East Africa was facing the worst drought in 60 years. For more than 5 years, the rainfall had been 30% less than normal. Crops failed, livestock died, forcing many of the Somali to flee the land in an effort to find refuge in either Mogadishu or neighboring countries like Kenya or Ethiopia. As with most refuge exoduses, those fleeing were predominantly women and children, because of the majority of the men stayed behind to protect their land. UN officials estimated that a Somali child died every 6 minutes due to malnutrition. Thus, the humanitarian crisis in Somalia came to be known in the humanitarian community as the children's famine. We are HARO, Humanitarian African Relief Organization. Humanitarian African Relief Organization, HARO, is a registered grassroots non-governmental organization instituted, staffed, and managed by a faculty of Somali professionals, conceptualized and discussed since the mid-2007. Officially launched in 2007 by a group of Somali intellectuals concerned with the Horn of Africa civil strife and the increasing inability of communities to respond to the vexing humanitarian tragedy gripping the country, HARO in its neighborhood has now taken up the challenges of articulation and contribution to the country's development priority agenda as it entered the third millennium. Ali Abdinur has more than 20 years of non-profit organization management experience. He has developed new campaigns for organizations to further the purpose of serving the community. Disturbed by the condition of his fellow countrymen, in particular the children and women of Somalia, he decides to form HARO, Humanitarian African Relief Organization, in 2007. Since the inception of HARO, Ali Abdinur has helped raise thousands of dollars in order to accomplish the mission, which is to empower the needy and the indigent to make informed and healthy choices to counter the social and economic problems endemic in parts of Somalia and East Africa by presenting helpful awareness, effective education, and assistance in the form of food, shelter, and medicine.
So I decided to go to form this organization in the United States to make and help those people who are in need in East Africa. That motivated me to do this job, and I'm proud about it to do it.
Mission: empowering community, women, youth and children in all spheres of life through sustainable development, education, training and intervention programs, along with networking a people's movement for campaigning and lobbying. Vision: building up a society with self-sustained, economically independent, and politically empowered community. Objective: the overall objective of HARO is to seek to work with communities in response to humanitarian needs and to facilitate the improvement of their livelihoods for improved living standards and quality of life for the vulnerable communities in both rural and urban settlements, and also to protect violation against women and socioeconomic, cultural and political empowerment.
HARO is an organization that helps poor people in East Africa. And when you hear HARO, means hope, means help, and means respecting human species.
To give you an idea of the importance of HARO's work and effort in East Africa, we visited numerous camps in Mogadishu during the famine of 2011 and distributed large amounts of aid consisting of food and shelter to the most affected people who migrated from many parts of Somalia. During this time, HARO staff also visited an orphanage house in the same area where funds were given to help buy food and clothes for the starving kids.
Perhaps one of the most compelling successes in the Somali community is the founding of the Humanitarian African Relief Organization, HARO, in 2007.
It is not the poor who are bankrupt. It is you and I who see a need, have the difference to make change, and we look the other way.
We need to consider what can we give and how can we help HARO to meet the needs of children in a more substantial, ongoing way.
Coming all together for one cause, for a noble cause, for providing help and assistance.
So what happens if we don't help? What happens if we do not contribute? There is no singular solution to any one humanitarian crisis. Often, the primary cause of a humanitarian crisis is intertwined with several other factors. If we do not help today, the consequence is just like a domino effect. If there is no humanitarian African relief, there is no food or shelter for our brothers in need. So please, help HARO in the effort of giving the people in need a chance to live. You can make the difference in many lives by supporting today.
People back home are suffering, and HARO did a great job of standing up and taking charge and taking great action.
In East Africa especially, where children are dying for malnutrition, it's reality, and it needs intervention. It needs mankind to come together and become a part of this solution.
I'm gonna invite you to help those in needy through to HARO. HARO are on the ground in East Africa, either in Mogadishu, Somalia, or Kenya, Nairobi, and Djibouti, and all East Africa. We are working there. We need your help through to HARO. So I'm appealing for everybody as a human being. Please help HARO to do the job in East Africa.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Thank you. Thank you for receiving this message.